there is a relationship between time and suffering. It's a direct correlation. As the time increases, the suffering also increases. When I talk about time, I'm talking about the difference or the space between the birth and the death. You look at any newborn baby or any infant, they have no concern about money. They don't care about bills. They don't care about mortgages or graduation or career or jobs, right? Sometimes I envy my children when I see them at night sleeping so peacefully, and I'm like, I wish I can go back to that age. Man, look at them so stress-free. But when they get to middle school and high school and college, then things are going to change. You've been slammed with assignments and projects and exams, and then your stress level slowly increases. And when you get to the college, I remember when I was in college, I was hardly getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep, but I had some hope. This is what I often said. I was like, one day, after I get a job, after I get married, I'm going to sleep all I want. I know things are going to change, and I know this is a struggle phase, but the next phase, I know I'm going to enjoy the life. And I already saw a lot of smiles on your faces. You know what I'm talking about. Once you got married, your stress level increases further, right? Not because of your spouse. That's how it is. And then there is the next phase when you become parent. Depends on the age of your children. Your stress level goes up. And if you have a teenager at home, then no comments. Then it comes to the midlife crisis, and this is where you start to develop all kinds of sicknesses. Cholesterol and blood pressure and diabetes and you name it, all kind of stuff. And then again, as the age progresses, your stress level increases, the suffering increases. And then you hit the time, age 68 or 70, the retirement age, and your suffering reach its peak. What I'm trying to say is as you get aged, as the time progresses, the suffering also increases. And my message, I believe it's timely as we are closing to the end of the year. This is where the Bible talks about something very interesting. If you have your Bibles with you, turn to Psalms 90 verse 12. Psalms 90 verse 12. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. We need heavenly wisdom to number our days. We all do shopping, right? Irrespective of gender, we all do shopping. And when you go to the grocery store, 90% of the products in the grocery store have an expiration date, right? I mean, you pick, what it means is after that date, it's useless, it's trash. How many of you have tried a dairy product that passed the expiration date? I have. I have tried milk. I have tried cheese. Not that I want to, but once you taste it, no one have to tell you that it's expired. It's bad, okay? Accidentally, I have tried. So everything in this market, in a grocery store, have an expiration date. Do you know that we have an expiration date? Everyone sitting here, it might be 2050, 2030, I don't know. We all have an expiration date, but this is the funny aspect about human life. We dictate the expiration date on every product in the market, but when it comes to our life, we are clueless. We have absolutely no idea. And this is where Solomon said, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 and 2, there is a time for everything. There is a season for every activity under the heaven. There is a time to cry. There is a time to laugh. There is a time to build. There is a time to destroy. There is a time to be born. And there is a time to die. That is the expiration date I'm talking about. So let me quickly get to the verse we read, Psalms 90. It's a psalm written by Moses. It is by far the oldest psalm in the Bible. Okay, this is the first psalm ever written in the Bible. And some would say this is the oldest Hebrew poetry in the history of the world. Regardless, Psalms 90 is called a psalm of sadness. And some of the Bible scholars say the reason why Moses wrote this psalm is after the death of Aaron. He was so close to Aaron. Aaron was his company, accompanied him wherever he went. And his death was something he never expected, never thought would happen. And it was so unexpected that after his death, he was loomed with sorrow. But a part of the theologian says that is not the reason. The reason is, as you know, the people of Israel, they went through miracles after miracles, right? But yet they sinned against God. And 40 years they wandered in the wilderness. And there is something that happened. Listen to me carefully. In that 40 years, 1 million people died. 1 million people. You do the math. That is 87 people, 87 persons in one day. Can you imagine a pastor doing a funeral? 87 funerals a day. This is not just one day. Days, months, years. Moses was surrounded by death and despair. And this is what the theologian says. Towards the end, he could not take it anymore. He was so much surrounded by the death of his fellow brethren that prompted him to pour his sorrow and his despair into a prayer in the form of Psalms 90. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Just we live in a very fast-moving world. One complaint I often hear from people, including myself, is, I don't have time. I'm running out of time. I am so busy. People are so much in a hurry. They sleep late. They wake up early. They have no time to eat breakfast. They rush to work. Other day, I was on my way to drop Eva to school. And I was at this stoplight. It sounds funny, but I saw this car right next to me. It was wavering back and forth. And it was at the stoplight when I was looking. It was a young lady. With one hand, she was applying the makeup. With the other, she was having her breakfast, taking the bites in between. And with that hand, she was texting. Both the hands engaged. And then I was looking at the green light came, and she was trying to control the steering with her leg. No time. People are so busy. But this is where the contradiction comes. As I learn the life of Jesus, the more we study the life of Jesus, you get so amazed that he never seemed to be in a hurry. Although he was doing the most important job in the history, which is redeeming the mankind, and although he had only few minutes or few years left, 3.5 years to accomplish everything, yet you will see that Jesus had time to put his hands on little children and bless them and pray with them. Jesus had time to attend dinners with sinners and with sick people. He got time to teach and preach his disciples and debate with them. He got time to pray and fast. Time was his friend. There is a saying, yesterday is history, tomorrow is mystery, but today is the gift of God. That's why we call it the present. You can make more money, but you can make more time. You can make more friends, but you can make more time. You can gain a lot of education, but you can make more time. That's why. So let me tell you this. If the God-given time, this is the way I'm thinking. If the God-given time is so precious, then this very life comprised of that time is very, very precious in the sight of God. That's why David said, Psalms 139, verse 14, he said, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Can you understand? This body is wonderfully been created. Your body is the temple of the living God. You are the magnificent work of the holy God. Church, this body is so complex and so complicated. The more you understand about this body, this human body, you will not sit here quiet. You will give praise to God. I know we have physicians and medical professionals in this building, so I am so very careful what I am talking about here. Do you know you have eyes that have 100 receptors, 100 million receptors to enjoy the flight of an eagle or to watch a snowflake fall? You have ears that have 24,000 fibers that are vibrating while I am preaching to you right now. You have a body with 500 muscles and 200 bones. In that body, there is 7 miles of nerve fibers that are synchronized together to give your body the agility and the movement. Think about it. You have a heart which beats more than 36 million times this year alone. It pumps more than 600,000 gallons of blood throughout your body through 60,000 miles of blood vessels and veins and arteries. You have a lungs that have 600 million pockets of folded flesh to expunge the waste gas from your system. Church, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. In your body, you have 4 quarts of blood. In that blood, there are 22 trillion cells. In each cell, there are millions of molecules. In each molecule, there is an atom that is oscillating at 10 million times a second. And each second that ticks off the clock, 2 million cells in your body dies, and 2 million cells in your body regenerate itself. Church, I am a walking resurrection. You and I sitting here have a brain that weighs little more than 3 pounds of gray matter. In that brain, you have 4 million pain sensors, 500,000 touch detectors, 200,000 temperature gauges just to make sure that your body will not blow up and explode or freeze to death. This is the kind of body that God has given you. So just imagine if my God would pour out so much of technology into a body which will decay and will die, which is mortal, which is perishable, and will join the earth. Just imagine. I wonder what He put in our spirit, what He stored in our spirit, which is eternal, and what is the value of it. To some of you sitting here, I know it's a very simple message, but I want to tell you this. You are not an accident. The pastor's already said that. I'm so thankful that our messages are synced. You are not an accident. You are a miracle. You are somebody incredibly special in the eyes of God. Even before the time began, even before the world was created, He saw us. You were in His master plan. I praise God. I thank God that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This mystery only makes sense when, it's a mystery, by the way. This mystery only makes sense when you are able to number your days. And that's when you start thinking, can I number my days? Well, there are holy men of God in the Bible who were able to do that. And again, Pastor was talking about Abraham. Abraham was one of the person who was able to number his days. Book of Hebrews chapter 11 verse 9, it says, by faith, Abraham lived in the promised land like a stranger in the foreign country. He lived in tents with his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob. I want to pause here for a second. What do you think? Abraham was not rich enough to build a house or a mansion? Guys, Abraham was the Elon Musk of his days. I'm serious. Bible says he was the richest man in that generation. Forget building a house. He could have built a city for himself and his children and his generation. But he didn't build a city. Then what happened? The next verse talks about it. But he was looking forward for the city with foundations whose architect and builder was God. Listen, church, we are just a vapor. We are a dust. We are a grass that withers. We are sojourners. We are just passing by. This is not my home. This is my temporary dwelling place. We don't know what's going to happen to us next. None of us here can guarantee that next week we will be together worshiping God. But listen to what Paul says. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1, Paul says, now we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed. This is the body he was talking about. You know, all the technology that God poured in that I was talking about. If this earthly tent is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. This is the heart of wisdom Moses was talking about. Only a child of God who can number his days have the confidence to say, there is a better place, an eternal house in heaven set for me. Our pain is temporary. Our suffering is temporary, but we have a house in heaven that is eternal. That's why the song says, I will fly away. Oh, glory, I will fly away when I die. Hallelujah, by and by, I will fly away. In this world, I know we have pain. In this world, there is suffering. There is lack of peace. There is uncertainty. You know, let me wrap up with this last part. I know I'm almost there. So at times when we compare ourselves, you know, we are often like the man in Psalm 66. We are like the man in Psalm 66. If you read verses 11 and 12, this man is complaining about God. Again, I don't know if it's a complaint or if it's an appreciation, but only after you read the whole verse, it makes sense. So let me read that. This is what the man's saying. So he's talking to God, okay? He's saying, you brought us into the net. You laid a crushing burden on our backs. You let people ride over our heads. We went through fire and water. So I want you to picturize this scene with me. I picturize this man as a very highly ambitious person who is full-time working, who got kids, who are swamped with all the busy life, and he is so career-focused, and he's running towards his goal. He got no time. Like I said, he's busy, okay? No time, running out of time, he's a busy guy. He's running. He's running so fast, he have no time to attend church. He have no time to read the Bible. He got no time to pray. He got no time to fast. But one day something happened. God put him in a net. So when God put this man in a net, you tell me, if you have a net on you, are you able to run? No. So what do you do now? You walk, right? I mean, you don't stop. You are in a net, but you are walking. So he thought everything is good now, okay? I have a net, but that's okay. With this net, I'm still going towards my destiny. my object, my target. But God did something else. God said, no, that's not right. He laid a crushing object on my back. When I am walking and God put a heavy object on my back, can I walk now? No. I'm on the ground. What am I doing now? I cannot walk. I cannot run. But now I'm crawling. I didn't stop. I'm crawling. Did this mysteries end? No, I did not. Then God did something else. Oh my God. He let people ride over your heads. Church, I can take all kind of suffering, but this is something I cannot comprehend. Letting people ride over my head. Do you like that? When people dictate the terms at your workplace? Do you like the fact that people are a thorn in your flesh? They are a pain? But let me tell you something. They are placed by God in your life. When you experience people riding over your heads, know this. This is not an accident. Nothing happens in your life without my God knowing about it. People riding over your head, what does it mean? It means you cannot run. You cannot walk. Now you cannot even crawl. You're crushed. Exactly. They're constantly riding. So finally this man thought, okay, I'm done and dusted. It's all over. Oh, listen to me carefully. It's not over. The next verse says, we went through fire and water. What is this? Church, we have members in this church that went through fire and water. When you go through fire and water, can you sleep? No, you cannot. You cannot sleep peacefully. You cannot eat peacefully. You cannot talk peacefully. Here is a man who was put in a net, who cannot walk, who cannot run, who cannot crawl, who cannot eat, who cannot sleep. Did it end? That is the beauty of the psalm. When it comes towards the end, oh my God, let me tell you this. The verse ends like this. It says, yet you have brought me to a better place. Church, 2022, there were some families in here who God put in a net. There were some families who had a crushing weight on your back. There were some families where people ride on your head. There were someone who went through the fire and the water. But as I stand on December 11th, 2022 Sunday, I can boldly proclaim that, yet you brought me to a better place. മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുന്നു, എങ്കിലും നീ ഞങ്ങളെ സമൃദ്ധിയിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുവന്നിരിക്കുന്നു. Yet you brought us to a place of abundance. Yet you brought me to a place of victory. Church, I don't know what you're going through this morning. Maybe you are sick and tired. Maybe you are a parent who is crying over your children. Maybe you are anxious about your future, your career, whatever that be. Sometimes you'll be shedding a lot of tears. I know that. Asking God a lot of questions. God, why did this happen to me? Why am I going through this suffering? Why am I going through this net and this weight on my top and people riding over me? Why am I going through the fire and the water? Oh, but when all the doors are shut, when there is absolutely no hope, no light at the end of the tunnel, know this. This is the perfect opportunity for God to display His might and His power and His glory and His strength. Church, you are not an accident. You are a miracle. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. May God bless you.